Hi, I'm Juli Lathrop from the Kramer Foundation in Chemung County, New York.
Tell me a little bit about why the Kramer Foundation is named Kramer Foundation and how it got started.
It actually got started by accident, I have to tell you. I took in a huge Rottweiler whose name was Kramer, who had been bounced around to a few different homes, back to the breeder twice. I was working with the Chemung County Sheriff's Department at the time, and I had just bid for a school resource officer job in a middle school. So it started out with me just bringing Kramer in to make me approachable as a uniformed officer to the kids. We quickly found out that kids would do anything for a dog. And so we started behavior modification programs, reading programs, social programs, suicide prevention. There wasn't anything that Kramer said that they would forget. So if Kramer said it, it meant more. I started working with some of our really high-risk youth, kids who were already in the system, on their way to juvenile lockup or on their way back out of juvenile lockup. A lot of anger management problems, a lot of behavior problems, a lot of lack of social skills. So I started using the dogs with the kids, and while we were teaching the kids how to modify the dogs' behaviors, we were teaching them, they just didn't know it. We made the kids absolutely responsible for their dog. They were assigned that dog until either they moved on or the dog was adopted. So by the end of the program, we had saved 279 dogs that had been on the youth list. Working through that, they're turned into fostering for other shelters and fostering dogs for deployed soldiers. At no expense to them while they were over there. Veterans who needed inpatient treatment for PTSD, physical things, just going in for surgeries, anything that took them out of the house, the dog had a safe place to stay. And when they came back, when the soldier either came back stateside or the veteran got out of the hospital, they had a dog that hopefully could follow them for whatever part of the life they needed. An emotional support dog, a PTSD dog, you know, some of them going on to be service dogs, and then others just go on to be a wonderful, normal pet with a little bit better behaviors than when they left.
Right, okay. How many dogs have been rescued by now, would you say? Is there a rough estimate of?
The ones who have just gone through my home right now, I believe we just took in number 946. But we also do home visits to people that are trying not to have to send their dog to shelter. And we'll go to their home and work with them and work with the dog and do training at no charge so that they can keep that dog in there. If we can keep a dog and change their behaviors and keep them in a home that knows them and that they've grown up in, they're a lot more successful, and we've been able to keep hundreds of dogs out of the shelter. So this is Lily. Lily's been with us less than a week now. She was a bite case that was deemed dangerous and ordered to be euthanized by the courts. The victim in the case said that everybody just knew Lily was the dog that barked when you went by and pulled at her chain. And one day the bus pulled up with all the activity and Lily was doing her thing, barking and pulling. The chain broke and everybody scattered and started yelling and screaming, and Lily started trying to herd people in. But she bit a lady and then a young boy multiple times as he continued running and trying to get back to his brother. She actually got a stay of execution by coming to the Kramer Foundation. The first time that we've ever had a euthanasia order be reversed by a judge. So she's just in the very early throes of learning attention exercises, learning that the world is not a bad place to be, that she's not going to get taunted and teased. She's not going to spend her life tied to a tree. And I would only agree to take the dog if she could be rehomed. I did not want her living just behind bars, so to speak. Lily. 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 And then the last, we use her recall. Lily, here. Yes. Good girly. Good girl.
How does a foundation like this keep going? Because the work that you do definitely needs to keep going.
Well, it's actually by the grace of God for most of the time. I have anywhere between 35 and 50 dogs at a time up there, including the fosters. And then we have search and rescue dogs available, certified crime scene dogs. We have therapy dogs. So we have a core of working dogs there, and then my retired dogs, because once they're there, they're there. You know, I can't ask them to give me everything they have through their entire career and then go, oh yeah, you're 15, you know, see you later. Now this is Rookie, and Rookie was a stray that came into the Horseheads Animal Shelter. And all of this energy and stuff that we love and all this drive are things that turn into aggression at shelters, and then they get euthanized for it. So when Rookie came in, totally out of control, didn't know how to walk on a leash, didn't know how to sit, didn't know how to do anything. And we found out really, really quickly that he had a lot of drive, and he would work all day long for that little tug toy that he has. Good boy. Good boy, yes, good boy. Good boy. Yes.
So when he found it, he sat down and he looked at you?
Yes. That's his indication. The other ones are a down. They'll actually lay down when they find the source, but his is a sit and look back at you.
Here.
Now, he also is narcotics detection trained.
He is. There must be some narcotics in my jacket because
You really need to tap into the brain cells, and that's what is their reward. That's what brings them down. That's what satisfies them, is using their brain. This dog is very obviously high drive, working bred dog. And you know why nobody came to claim him, because
too much work for them.
too much work. They didn't do anything as a puppy. They say they don't have the time. Then they send them to me when they've got 9 dogs in their shelter and I've got 50 at home, and they send them to me to be rehabilitated because they don't have time.
What they don't have is the skill set or the interest.
Correct. Correct.
What do you think the current state of the canine condition says about the human condition?
Unfortunately, it's running parallel right now. The state of the canine condition is an absolute disaster. We're stuck with an overabundance of horrific breeding with no regard to who has them or what happens to them after they hit the ground. No spaying and neutering, crosses that have the worst possible combination of traits and behaviors, people who fall in love with the little dogs and take them home without having any idea what their history is, what they're bred for. Some of them are so emaciated they haven't had a meal in who knows how long. And when all else fails, they're just dogs. So they go back to the most basic and ingrained behavior. It will fight for its food, it will fight for itself. That doesn't mean it can't be rehabilitated, and that it will always be like that, and that once you've worked with it, that it will regress back to that. We found that absolutely not to be true. Maya's problem was she unintentionally brought it on herself. She was attacked, I believe, 3 times, once at shelter and twice in foster. And it's because she has no social skills. She has no boundaries. With any dog, they have to learn to work around other dogs without being involved before they have any kind of interaction with them. So when they come to the Kramer Foundation, we have all open walls where shelters and rescues have a tendency to have solid walls between the dogs, which really makes things worse. What we do, we have open walls and we put them next to a non-reactive dog. And little by little, those bad behaviors erode.
She's come a long way. I remember meeting her March of 2015.
Yeah.
She was a wild, wild girl.
She was a wild child when she got here, but you could tell somebody somewhere along the way had been very heavy-handed with her, and she does not respond to that well at all. We like her happy, giggly self.
Does she have the potential to be adoptable, or would she be better off in an environment where she could be more of a working dog or?
She has every potential to be adoptable. She will have to go to a home with somebody who very clearly sets boundaries for her right from the beginning, but that is an active family, will follow through with training, and loves her for her wiggly self, because if you take that out of Maya, you break her. There are some dogs that you can take that out of some and, you know, they'll be all right. Maya's not one of them.
No.
People who donate hundreds of thousands of dollars to no-kill shelters don't understand that the definition of no-kill is that they don't euthanize for time or space. They euthanize for behavior problems and for health issues.
I feel like they just expect so much out of these innocent creatures who've had no guidance and training in their life.
That would be like taking a 10-year-old boy and kicking him out on the streets and saying, find your way, and when they start fighting and carrying a knife and carrying a gun and stuff because they've got to survive out there, you know, now they need to be locked up because they're criminals. You can't really rehabilitate a dog in a shelter. This is Rambler. Rambler came to us from the Binghamton shelter. Rambler was dumped, and he was on the run for over a month. And he wandered into the open door of a drug house, and they were able to get him to the shelter, where he stayed for the next month. They couldn't get a collar on him. They couldn't check him for microchips. They couldn't do anything with him because he was so very magnified fight or flight. He couldn't flee, so he was going to fight. They called me to evaluate him after he'd been there about 4 or 5 weeks. And then we spent the next 3 weeks fighting the city and the attorneys to take him. We actually had to tranquilize him to get him home. He's a little unsure of things still, used to being on his own, but will make somebody a lovely, lovely pet.
Tell me what the love of your dogs means to you.
Oh, boy. I don't know if you can really put that in words. I don't think there's really a word to be able to describe. I've got a lot of dogs that have come through. Mm-hmm. Every one of them holds a little piece of my heart when they go. There's certain ones that will be in there forever. I couldn't imagine life without them. You know? Someday, there will be no shelters, there will be no foster homes, there will be no abandonment, but
no,
until then, I don't plan on stopping this until I can't put my feet on the ground anymore.
When I don't know where to go, and I don't know where to turn to, I know at least that I got you. And when I'm feeling sad and lonely, and I need someone to hold me, I know at that I got you.